Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Life in Motion. I'm your host, Grace Becker. I'm a licensed mental health therapist and an enthusiast of life. So I feel like I'm qualified for today's episode. And not only do I have the degrees and the license and the trainings and the certifications to back that up, but I also have this handy dandy glass of red wine to give me some liquid courage. So there's just something that hits different when you have a glass of wine to go with your little chit chat, you know? And honestly, one of my fond memories growing up was coming home after school, and my mom and one of her besties would be sitting on the couch or out on the deck or something, drinking a glass of wine and spilling the tea. They were drinking wine, but tea was spilled. And yeah, so that just gives me fond memories. So yeah, what is everyone else's little beverage? Comment down below what your beverage that you're drinking right now is. Are people out there also beverage girlies? Because I know I'm a beverage girly. I usually need one that gives me some sort of energy, caffeine, one that gives me hydration, one that is a fun drink. And yeah, that's usually my typical rotation, but sometimes I'll throw in like a health drink in there as well. You know, one that's for health. This one is clearly not for health. This one is the fun drink. I have my water over there on the side, but that doesn't matter because we have red wine. But I hope everyone is doing good today. Today's topic that we're going to be diving into is panic attacks. Yeah, I feel like panic attacks are something that a lot of people go through and a lot of people will throw around, but they don't actually know what that is, or they don't actually experience it and say that they do a lot. So I'm here today to get into that with you all and to kind of go over it, what it means, how it affects a person, you know, what triggers a panic attacks, what's kind of the science behind it, how to cope with it, and long-term support, and, you know, just like common misconceptions about it. So without further ado, I think we should just get into it. So first off, what is a panic attack and why is it so terrifying? So a panic attack is a sudden surge of intense fear, emotion, discomfort, and it typically peaks around 5 to 10 minutes for most people. People who have panic attacks can have, you know, multiple panic attacks within one day, within a week. Maybe they have it monthly, yearly, you know, maybe once every now and then. So it really does depend on the person, you know, and how frequent they have them. But panic attacks are typically that sudden surge of fear and discomfort. And there's a lot of different symptoms that can come with it. A lot of people will, you know, go to the emergency room thinking that they're having a heart attack because they're experiencing rapid heartbeat, shortness of breath, maybe tightness in the chest, dizziness, shaking, chills, nausea, all sorts of things. And then come to find out that it was a panic attack. Sorry, Jaden's out there packing stuff up. But really they're experiencing a panic attack, but they think that it's a heart attack, so they'll go to the emergency room for it. And, you know, sometimes it can be difficult to tell the difference between the two. But what I always go back to is, okay, what triggered it? Was there something that occurred that, you know, maybe triggered the panic attack, or did it just come out of nowhere? If it's just coming out of nowhere, it's likely a heart attack. But panic attack also has strong emotional and cognitive symptoms that come with it. So it could be, you know, the fear of dying, feel like you're losing control of a situation. Maybe you're feeling detached from what's going on in reality, derealization or depersonalization, either detaching from reality or detaching from yourself. And if any of that's going on, it's likely it's a panic attack that's happening. And let's just normalize that. Yes, these symptoms and these feelings are scary and overwhelming. However, they are not dangerous, and that I think is a common misconception that people get into, is that these panic attacks are dangerous to them. However, for most people, that's not going to be the case. Of course, there's always the common, or there's always the exception. For example, if maybe you do have a heart issue, or your panic attacks cause you to, maybe have like those dizzy spells, and you're geriatric and maybe you could hurt yourself. There are going to be some concerns, but typically it's not dangerous. It is scary though. So what triggers a panic attack? Really, they can come out of nowhere. That's what it feels like, and that's what people say. It just comes out of nowhere. When really there is typically a trigger, there is usually a cause, but it's not always, a person's not always aware of it. They're not always, in the know of what triggered them until they start coming to therapy and their therapist lays it out for them on what possibly triggers them. But common triggers for people is, stress and burnout. So many people, so many clients of mine, people I know personally, will experience panic attacks because they are overwhelmed and they are stressed out. And that stress could come from, everyday work stress. It could come from situational, stress in your relationships. It could come from, maybe you've had kind of a string of bad luck, and just event after event after event has been occurring to you, and it's finally catching up with you, and it's overwhelming. It could come from that. It could come from certain environmental factors. For example, some people have a lot of phobia around driving. So whenever they get into a car and they start driving, they start to experience those physical, mental, emotional symptoms, which can lead to a panic attack. Some people get this way in crowds, or in closed spaces. So then they start to experience panic attacks. It just kind of depends, on the person and what they have. If any of this is maybe hitting home with you, I recommend doing some self-reflection, some journaling, or even writing something quick down in your notes app on your phone whenever you're starting to experience these symptoms. I want you to write down what symptoms you experienced, what feelings and thoughts you were having, and then I want you to write down what you think triggered that. What happened right before this? Or what were you thinking about that maybe triggered those symptoms? That will tell you what your trigger is. Because once you know what the trigger is, you're better able to treat the panic attacks. Because, if we know what the cause is, we can work towards resolving the cause of the panic attacks, and therefore the panic attacks themselves. Those are some common triggers. A lot of other things can be medical conditions or substances. So if you are a common consumer of caffeine or stimulants, those are things that can also generate some of these panic attacks or be side effects of certain medications for treating a medical condition. So talk with your doctor, talk with your psychologist, talk with your therapist, read the labels of everything, and that can help you figure out what is going on. But basically, those are some of those common symptoms. And another thing is that the fear of the symptoms themselves can become a trigger in itself. So I have had people who know they get panic attacks and have worked themselves up into a panic attack in anticipation of a panic attack. And I mean, I'm laughing, it's not funny, but like we humans, we really do this. We catastrophize, or we get into this distorted cognitive thinking so much so that we create these symptoms out of nothing. So maybe your trigger is panicking in itself. Do you have a tendency to catastrophize and overthink, go to the worst possible case scenario, and then that leads to a panic attack? Maybe let's, work on challenging those cognitive distortions. Maybe let's work on that. Okay. I need a drink of wine before we get into this next bit. It's so good. Oh my, that dried me the fuck out. I love dry wine, so it was good. I just wasn't prepared to speak right after that. Okay. So let's get into the science behind panic attacks. So when a person is experiencing a panic attack, often their fight, flight, or freeze survival instinct response is triggered. So when you are faced with a situation where you have to fight it, flee from it, or freeze, typically that is what can cause panic attacks, because the brain will detect a threat, whether it is real or imagined, and the body reacts. So and people typically don't have control over this. They just react. It can be really, really difficult to stop yourself from reacting. It is possible. However, it does take a lot of practice, consistency, and, grace on yourself to work up the ability to just stop, not react, and to just take a minute for yourself. But typically that is what's going on. The brain is detecting a threat and the body reacts to that threat. And panic attacks are usually just a misfiring alarm system. Oh my gosh, I wish I could remember exactly what it was. But in the book by, what's his name? Bessel Van Cleef. Oh my gosh, what is his name? He wrote the book. Oh my goodness. It's one of my favorite books ever. It is The Body Keeps the Score. And I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but I've read the book 3 times. It's so good. I can't believe I'm brain farting on his name right now. But he talked about how I forget what he calls it. I think he calls it the smoke alarm in our brains that will perceive a threat and the smoke alarm will go off. And it starts, dinging, zzz, 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 and telling you, oh no, there's a fire, there's a fire, there's a fire. But there's really no fire. And that is kind of what's happening with panic attacks. It's a misfiring alarm system that's going off. And for some people, this can lead to anxiety disorders. It can develop over time, especially if the panic symptoms are not addressed. So now that we kind of have an understanding of what it is, what are those common symptoms, what's the science behind it, you may be asking me, okay, Grace, great. How do we cope with it? And coping with panic attacks, like I said before, it takes consistency and it takes time to be able to get to the point where you can better manage these distressing situations. So go easy on yourself. I'm going to give you a few coping skills in a minute here, but I just want to preface with saying we're looking for progress, not perfection. So if you go to use one of these skills and it doesn't seem to be working for you right away and you're still panicking, girl, don't even worry about it, because if you keep trying with it, eventually you will notice a difference. And, some skills just don't work the way it does for others. So maybe you have to kind of, trial and error, see what works for you for a little bit. One of my favorite skills for this is a skill called STOP. And STOP is an acronym. It stands for S is for stop, T is for take a step back, O is for observe, and P is for proceed mindfully. And whenever you are experiencing a distressing event that may be triggering you, that could lead to a panic attack, I want you to stop. Do not react. Stop whatever you are doing. If you are having a conversation with someone and you're feeling triggered, stop talking. Do not react. If you are, maybe you're about to get in your car to go drive somewhere and that's, anxiety inducing for you, stop what you're doing, pull over, or don't even start driving yet. Just stop what you are doing. Do not react. And arguably that is the hardest thing to do because we are human and we want to react. But I'm encouraging you not to. Then I want you to take a step back. either physically remove yourself from the situation if you can, and go to another room, or I want you to mentally take a step back. So just kind of distract yourself from a minute from what is going on, like mentally step away. And one of the best ways to do that is by using either a grounding exercise, such as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, where you use all 5 senses and you look for 5 things you can see, 4 things that you can feel, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things you can taste, 1 thing you can smell. Go through all 5 of your senses. That's one grounding exercise. What that's going to do for you, it's going to bring you into the here and the now. It's going to bring you back into the present moment and calm your nervous system down. Another one that I really like is box breathing. I know I've talked about it a lot on the podcast, but basically it's just you're going to do this 4 times, and you're going to inhale for 4 slow seconds, hold the breath for 4 slow seconds, exhale for 4 slow seconds, and then breathe as normal for 4 slow seconds. And you're going to do it 4 times. And that should help you get back to a paced breathing so that you can better proceed in this stop skill. So far we have S, stop, do not react. T, take a step back. And you're going to use one of your grounding skills to calm your nervous system. And then that gets me into O, which stands for observe. And here I want you to observe what is going on around you and what is going on inside of you. So let's break that down. What I mean by what is going on around you, I want you to consider the facts of the situation. A lot of times when we are anxious and we are starting to have a panic attack, we are catastrophizing, we are imagining things, we are getting into all or nothing thinking, and we can get really illogical when we are in that thinking. So I want you to only consider the facts. What is going on? Who is involved? Like, what is the situation? What is happening around you? Then I want you to consider what is going on inside of you. So by inside of you, I mean, what are you thinking right now? What are your thoughts? And then what are you feeling? What are you thinking and what are you feeling? And if you can do all that, you are better equipped to ask yourself, what do I need? Do I need space? Do I need advice? Do I need someone to listen to me? Do I need to just, maybe do some deep breaths and then proceed? What do I need? And it might take you a little bit to figure that out, and that's fine. There's no time limit on this. You don't have to figure these things out lickety split. You can take your time to figure that out. So that is O, observe. So we have S, stop, T, take a step back, O, observe, and then P stands for proceed mindfully. And proceeding mindfully can mean different things to a lot of people. We don't really have time to get into all the different skills that can come in with that. However, the skill that I usually teach people is the 3 F's skill, which stands for facts, feelings, fair request. And that is helpful if there's another person involved. So you are going to go communicate to that person, what are the facts of the situation? Then you're going to communicate your feelings and your opinions. And with that, I just want to say quickly, use I statements, because when you say, I feel, you're taking ownership. When you say, you make me feel, or you statements, you're blaming. And that's going to cause, the other person to feel attacked, and then they're going to get defensive and they're going to attack you. And it's a mess. We don't want it. Okay. Trust me. So then that's the second F is feelings. And the third F is fair request. And this is where you're going to tell that person what it is you need. And then the two of you can negotiate or compromise, whatever, on what it is that you need. If another person is not involved, the proceeding mindfully is basically going to be you filling out what you said you needed in that observed space. So maybe what you need is you need to set boundaries with another person, or you need to set boundaries with yourself. Or maybe what you need is you need to take it slow. Maybe you need to, instead of getting in the car to go drive to the store, maybe you just need to sit in your car for 10 minutes, get out, and then maybe the next day you try driving around to the store. You know what I mean? So proceed mindfully. So that is going to be a really good way of coping with a panic attack in the moment. But a lot of times it does come down to mental shifts. So we want to remind ourselves that this will pass. You've been here before. You've gotten past it in the past, and you can again. And reminder too, that like most panic attacks for most people do peak within 5 to 10 minutes. So if anything, set a timer for 5-10 minutes. And when it goes off, you may notice, oh my God, yeah, I'm fine now. I'm okay. And I'm still here, you know? So it will pass. It is helpful to put a name to it. So sometimes if you can label the trigger or what's going on, you are able to take ownership of it and have a sense of control over the trigger. So those are just a few things, but I do want to say what not to do is not to fight it, not to catastrophize, and not to isolate. Because if you try to fight the panic attack, typically it's just going to make things worse. If you catastrophize and you think of all the worst things that could happen, typically it's just going to make it worse. And if you isolate and you do not open up to anybody, or if you do not proceed mindfully, it's typically going to make it worse. Talk to somebody about it. Yes, in your own time. You don't have to go have your panic attack and then in the next moment go call your mom or go call your therapist. Like you're entitled to take time for yourself. We don't want to fight it, don't want to catastrophize, and we do not want to isolate. Typically going to make things worse. In terms of more long-term support, I highly recommend a therapist. That is going to be one of the best ways to cope with it, to learn more about yourself, learn how this maybe started, where you learn certain behaviors from, and just how to better understand certain situations that you are going through, because not everything is applicable to every situation. So if you can get a trained professional in your life who can help you to navigate these issues, you're going to get a more personalized approach, which is always, better, especially when we're considering long-term support and healing. So a therapist. I also recommend maybe some medications. Talk to your doctor about maybe an anti-anxiety medication or maybe an SSRI. Your doctor will know what's best for you. I also recommend some lifestyle changes. So ask yourself, are you getting enough sleep? Are you giving your body the fuel it needs? Are you getting water? Are you getting movement in every day? Are you practicing mindfulness? What are you doing to help your mental health and your physical health? So going back to the basics can be helpful. Okay? All right. So I think that's really what I have for you all today. I know that panic, like most things in life, these things are easier said than done. So I do come back to, give yourself the same patience that you would maybe give a partner or a friend. If you had a friend going through this, I'm sure you would give them all the reassurance in the world of, no, yes, girl, take your time. I'm here for you. I'm here to support you, whatever you need. Give that to yourself. You are doing the best that you can in this chaotic life. So just be patient with yourself, be consistent. Change doesn't happen overnight. And it does get better, especially with all these tools that I'm sharing with you today and the support that you can get from the people in your life and the professional that you ought to go see. You can get through it. Okay? I'm here for you. I'm always here for you, girl. And if you have questions or you want some more information on anything that I shared today, please send me an email. All of my socials are going to be linked down below, so you can go check that out and see, send me a DM, something, and I can, try and offer you some more personalized support that way. But otherwise, that is what I have for you all today. If you made it this far in the episode, I say let's comment a wine emoji down below. So put that in the comments down below if you made it this far. Thank you so much for your time. If you liked what you heard today, girl, leave 5 stars. Leave a thumbs up. Leave a review. Share with people in your life. Because the more we can get this out there, the more people that we can help and support. And who doesn't love that, So, yeah. I upload podcasts every Thursday, so make sure to stay tuned in to hear all about life in motion. But until next week, embrace the chaos and find the beauty. Bye.